Welcome to our channel. Today we dive deep into the shadowy world of Cold War, a time when spies, secret codes, and covert operations shaped the course of history like never before. Why did the Cold War start? After World War II, the world was divided. The US believed in capitalism and democracy, while the Soviet Union promoted communism and state-controlled economy. Both sides thought their system was superior and wanted to expand their influence worldwide. Even though they were allies during World War II, trust between the US and USSR collapsed after the war. America feared communist expansion in Europe, while the Soviets feared Western attacks. After Nazi Germany's defeat, no single power could control the others. Both superpowers sought world leadership, forming political and military blocs like NATO and the Warsaw Pact. America's Marshall Plan to rebuild Europe worried the Soviets about Western economic influence. The arms race and fear of nuclear attacks further escalated tensions. Communist governments in Eastern Europe, conflicts over territory, and early espionage activities fueled growing hostility, setting the stage for decades of silent rivalry. The Cold War, spanning from 1947 to 1991, was not a traditional war of tanks and trenches. Instead, it was a global standoff, a tense rivalry between two superpowers, the United States and its Western allies on one side, and the Soviet Union with its communist bloc on the other. The world was split into two camps, each armed not just with nuclear weapons, but with ideology, propaganda, and influence. Unlike past wars, there were no massive clashes between their armies. Yet the danger was everywhere. Every move, every invention, and every secret mattered. In this climate of suspicion, espionage became the new battlefield, a hidden war fought in the shadows by spies, double agents, and secret intelligence networks. Among the many figures who defined the Shadow War, few stand out as much as Aldrich Ames. A high-ranking officer inside the CIA, Ames secretly sold some of America's deepest secrets to the Soviet KGB. For nearly a decade, he fed Moscow information that exposed US intelligence operations. His betrayal was devastating. It led directly to the capture and execution of numerous American informants inside the Soviet Union. To this day, Ames is remembered as one of the most damaging traitors in American history. But espionage was not a one-sided game. On the Soviet side, one of the most famous names was Kim Philby, a British intelligence officer who rose to the top ranks of MI6, all while secretly working for Moscow. He was part of the infamous Cambridge Five, a network of British double agents recruited during their university years. For decades, they leaked vital secrets to the Soviets, undermining Western intelligence from within. Philby's betrayal was so complete that many in the West could hardly believe one man could have caused so much damage. The Cold War was not only a battle of ideologies, it was also a race for the most advanced spy tools the world had ever seen. Both sides poured enormous resources into creating gadgets that seemed like they belonged in a James Bond movie. Pens that secretly held miniature cameras, shoes with hidden transmitters, and listening devices so small they could be concealed inside a wall or even a piece of furniture. Entire embassies became arenas for covert surveillance, where bugs and wiretaps were planted in hopes of uncovering classified secrets. Let's take a look at some of the strangest ones. Great Seal Bug. In 1945, the Soviets presented the American ambassador with a very fancy wooden badge of the spread eagle, the Great Seal of the United States. But inside it was hidden a listening device that worked without electricity. This bug eavesdropped on the conversations of the American embassy in Moscow for years without anyone noticing. Hollow coin. The CIA and KGB made hollow coins that could be embedded with microfilm or tiny messages. From the outside, they looked no different from real coins. The most famous one was when a kid in New York dropped one and it exploded, revealing the secret inside. Cyanide glasses. Some secret agents would hide a cyanide pill in the temples of their glasses. If they were caught, they could end their lives with a small puff so that the information wouldn't leak. The dead drop spike. It was a waterproof metal cylinder that spies would put messages or videos inside and then hide them underground or even underwater. The next spy would come and easily retrieve the message without the two parties seeing each other directly. Insect drones. Both the Soviet Union and the United States were working on mechanical insects. For example, a robotic dragonfly or fly that could fly with a tiny camera or microphone and collect information. Of course, these projects often failed because the batteries were small and weak. But some of the most dramatic spy technology took to the skies. The U-2 spy plane, capable of flying higher than 70,000 feet, was designed to soar beyond the reach of enemy defenses while snapping photographs of Soviet military sites. For years, it provided Washington with invaluable intelligence. That is, until 1960, when a U-2 piloted by Francis Gary Powers was shot down over Soviet territory. The incident exposed America's secret surveillance program, caused a diplomatic firestorm, and pushed the world closer to open conflict. The Cold War was fought in the shadows through covert missions that often read like scenes from a spy thriller. These operations included sabotage, propaganda, misinformation campaigns, and infiltration of enemy governments. Every action was designed not just to gain an advantage, but also to weaken the confidence and stability of the other side. One of the most infamous examples was the Bay of Pigs invasion in 1961. Backed by the CIA, Cuban exiles launched a secret mission to overthrow Fidel Castro's communist regime. The plan was to trigger an uprising against Castro, but everything quickly went wrong. Poor planning, lack of air support, and Castro's strong defenses turned the invasion into a humiliating disaster. Hundreds of fighters were captured, and the operation became a major embarrassment for the United States. Yet, the Bay of Pigs was just one chapter in a long story of covert action. From secret assassinations plots against leaders to supporting coups in countries like Iran, Guatemala, and Chile, the Cold War was marked by missions that were hidden from the public eye, but whose consequences shaped global politics for decades. Beyond military and political rivalries, the Cold War became a testing ground for psychological experiments and mind control. Projects like Project Dork in 1964, which used the BZ drug to study its psychological effects on soldiers, exemplify the US's efforts to develop effective psychological weapons. The Cold War didn't just shape politics and military strategies, it also left a huge mark on culture and entertainment. Movies, music, and even video games reflected the global tensions and the rivalry between the US and the Soviet Union. Films of the 1980s often featured espionage, nuclear threats, and heroic spies, while music carried subtle political messages or expressed the anxieties of the era. Video games like Tetris, which originated in the Soviet Union, became a global phenomenon, subtly reminding players of the competition between superpowers. Even cartoons, books, and television shows reflected the tension of the times, showing how the Cold War influenced not just governments, but everyday life and popular culture across the world. The world of Cold War espionage is filled with intrigue, danger, and stories that shaped modern history. Understanding this secret battle helps us appreciate how close the world came to disaster, and how intelligence work changed the course of global events. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments.